We believe that students have the power to develop early-stage ideas that increase employment opportunities for women, youth, and underserved communities around the world. Big Ideas teams have increased student access to transformative lab opportunities, provided STEM training to underserved youth, and launched ventures that identify, train, and fund entrepreneurs. Big Ideas is looking for student teams to develop new tools, programs, and policies that transfer skills to workers, giving them the foothold they need to build a secure future. What's your big idea?
Today, technology is advancing more than ever before. Hardware and technologies that were once only accessible to elite companies, scientists, and programmers are increasingly available to people and organizations around the world. New tools are making it faster and cheaper to develop sustainably designed hardware solutions that address social challenges. Big Ideas teams have 3D printed a device that diagnoses pneumonia, built purification systems that provide clean water to communities in need, and powered some of the most remote communities worldwide. Big Ideas challenges teams to design early-stage solutions for hardware to better monitor our health, deliver goods and services to people in hard-to-reach places, grow food under increasingly difficult climate conditions, or more efficiently manage our energy and resource use. What's your big idea?
A healthy child is born, and as the doctor hands the mother her new baby, she's full of hope, but she's also full of fear. 20% of the babies born in her country won't make it to their 5th birthday. Malnutrition, diseases, and lack of access to quality care claim the lives of millions of children around the world each year. But imagine what would happen if a team of students from universities around the world worked together to develop innovative health ideas to keep this child safe. When she's an infant, wearable technology shows she has pneumonia, a diagnosis that saves her life. When she's 4, a cell phone microscope reveals an infection in both eyes, but with treatment, she's prevented from going blind. When she's 24 and having a baby of her own, a simple test reveals she has preeclampsia. With treatment, her life is saved. And thanks to improved surgical solar lighting, she safely delivers a healthy baby girl. Big Ideas student teams have launched health solutions that are improving lives globally. This year, Big Ideas is looking for early-stage global health innovations, technologies, systems, and policies that will help people in the US and around the world live healthy, productive lives. What's your big idea?
Broken food systems exacerbate one of the biggest challenges of our time, global hunger. We currently grow enough food to feed everyone on our planet, yet 1 out of 8 people is hungry. This reality has devastating impacts on families, communities, and economies. But through big ideas, students are developing early-stage solutions to improve food systems and reduce hunger here in the United States and around the world. These teams have launched products that inspire the next generation to be more connected with their food, created programs that redistribute the excess food to people in need, and developed fertilizers that increase crop yields. These innovations are poised to change the lives of vulnerable people globally. Big Ideas is looking for students to develop ideas that will improve food systems, from technical solutions to supportive agricultural policies to programs that give families the food they need to thrive.
Remind me afterwards to give this to you if you don't.
What's your big idea?
Thanks for sending me that document today, by the way.
Yeah, I thought that might be helpful.
Yeah, totally. And it also reminded me that I have to send you the JDs.
Yes. Yes.
Is it formatted poorly for you?
No, it's just not showing up in the.
Do you want me to email you? Maybe.
Maybe, but also where? Oh, here we go. Big ideas.
Yep.
Okay, so for the moment, I am going to put this up. But then,
Cool.
in about
Yeah.
4 minutes, we will.
Just let me know.
Yeah.
Broken food systems exacerbate one of the biggest challenges of our time, global hunger. We currently grow enough food to feed everyone on our planet, yet 1 out of 8 people is hungry. This reality has devastating impacts on families, communities,
Yeah. Do you want to? Okay, great. Hey everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I'm really excited to see all of you. I'm seeing a few familiar faces, maybe from advising, class announcements. Really quickly, can I just get a show of hands? Who found out about us through a class announcement? Okay. Who found out us through an poster? Okay. And any emails from advisors, professors? Word of mouth from a friend? Okay, cool. So welcome to the Big Ideas info session. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to our remote attendees. This event is also being live streamed. So if you do have a question and you are one of our remote attendees, you can write it into bigideas@berkeley.edu with the subject question. And Francis Gonzalez, our network manager in the back, will make sure to get your question announced. But I have a very special announcement that we have Rachel Sklar. She is the founder and executive director of Pit Vidura, which was a global health winner from last year, 2018, and she was also the Pitch Day competition winner. So I'd love to bring Rachel up, and she can talk a little bit about her journey with Big Ideas and as a social entrepreneur.
Yep. You just go to, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think you can just click that if you want.
Okay. Cool. So my name is Rachel. I am the founder and executive director of Pit Vidura, and I'm also a PhD student in the School of Public Health. So I've been around for a while, and Big Ideas has been a part of my journey, a big part of my journey at Berkeley. Every year I engage in some way, either by entering an idea, I've got a lot, or writing something, or just talking to the amazing advisors that are here. So what I'm going to do is just tell you guys a little bit about my company, tell you a little bit about my experience with Big Ideas, and then feel free to ask questions. I'm here to answer any questions about the program, about the company, and yeah, we can keep in touch. I'll put my email up and all that. So my company provides safe and affordable sanitation solutions for households in dense urban slums. We're 2 years old. We're based in Kigali, Rwanda, and we just set up shop here in Berkeley too, because we're growing. So the problem that we're trying to solve is that in dense informal areas, most people use pit latrines or septic tanks. Most rapidly urbanizing places in the world do not have sewer systems. So that means that people use these on-site sanitation systems. Sewers, pit latrines or septic tanks. The thing with pit latrines or septic tanks is they fill and they need to be emptied. And most low-income households can't afford the formal emptying services. So they use really crude and manual ways of emptying human waste and just disposing that waste into the environment. So that's the issue that Pit Vidura is trying to tackle. So our emptying teams use a portable pump that we've developed that can reach the densest areas in these low-income slums. And we provide a safe and affordable service for urban households in Kigali, and we're expanding to Uganda and Kenya in the next year. Am I talking too loud? So recently we launched another arm of the business called LuLab, and LuLab is really the Uber of fecal sludge management, we like to say. So part of the reason why the existing services are so expensive is because they're very inefficient. So what we're trying to do is make exhauster trucks more efficient by clustering households that need this service and filling the trucks to max capacity as fast as possible before they drive to a disposal site. So like I said, Big Ideas has been a huge part of Pit Vidura and my personal journey as an entrepreneur. And I'd say one of the reasons I wanted to come to Berkeley to do a PhD program was because of the wealth of opportunities like Big Ideas. at my core, I am an entrepreneur. I'm also a researcher, but I wanted to go somewhere where I could continue to develop my entrepreneurial skills and ideas. So I had that idea, I had that wish coming into Berkeley, and Big Ideas really just from the get-go provided me with so much to meet that yearning. So I'd say that Big Ideas, no matter what kind of entrepreneur you are, Big Ideas has the resources for you. Me personally, I really like bugging these guys. I need to constantly fly my ideas by someone, and my academic advisor doesn't want to hear about all of my entrepreneurial pursuits. So that's what these guys are here for. So that's the kind of thing I really liked at Big Ideas. If you're more of the kind of person who likes, peer interactions, peer review, that's also available here. You have the peer writing blitzes where you can, exchange written documents and edit each other's papers and proposals. If you're someone who feels like you need inspiration from leaders, there's plenty of talks and events that you can go to get that sort of inspiration. So no matter what kind of entrepreneur you are, no matter where you are in your entrepreneurial journey, I'd say Big Ideas definitely is the place to be to continue that journey. I put my first proposal in the first year I was here in 2013, and it made it to the final round but didn't get funded. And then I started to think about my ideas more, and I wrote a piece on the blind spot that we were tackling. The way I like to explain the blind spot we're tackling is everybody else in the sanitation space is building toilets. But then what happens? Toilets fill and they need to be emptied. So unless you empty them, that waste is just going to end up in the environment and make people sick. So that's the blind spot that I wrote about, and I won some money for that. And then I also entered another idea in 2016, which made it to the final round but didn't get funded. And then finally in 2018, my idea got funded. And this was after going to the field and working with another company that was initially founded by a Big Ideas alum in 2009. Yeah. So she was a winner in 2009, Ashley Murray, and a very successful entrepreneur now. She runs Waste Enterprises, you guys might have heard of it, in sub-Saharan Africa, multiple countries. And I was working with her, started Pit Vidura with her, and then launched my own company after we sort of outgrew our role as a department in her company. So, like I said, if you guys have questions, ask me. I'm happy to pass that torch along. That's pretty much it.
Do we have any questions for Rachel? Francis, did you have one? Okay. Any questions? So can you just talk quickly about sort of, as you sort of went down this pathway, what was that pivotal moment, that challenge, or an aha moment that really sort of either took you in one direction or the other?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a public health person, and a lot of people ask me, how is it a public health person ended up owning a poop logistics company, which is essentially what we are. I run a trucking company now, and I'm an epidemiologist. So I wouldn't say there was an aha moment. It was more of like, as the years went by, we realized what this problem was really about. We distilled it. From the first time I entered the Big Ideas contest with like a big idea, we're going to solve the sanitation problem and teach all these people how to build toilets and turn that toilet waste into fuel and do all these great things. Realized that couldn't do that until we figured out how to get waste to turn into fuel. Figured out couldn't do that until we realized how to make trucks more efficient, and so it was more of like a long process to distill the idea rather than aha, that's the solution.
Thank you. I'm Sheni Hazan from the Goldman School of Public Policy. First of all, congratulations for being an inspiration. Now, listening to your story, it's like you actually took almost 6 years from the first time you joined the program till the time you became a big winner. Is that the standard process, or can somebody apply once and then be the big winner?
I can answer that because I have a little bit more historical. So I'm Philip Denny. I'm the director of the competition. It's sometimes different pathways for different projects. Typically, I would say most of the projects are coming through in that first year. Sometimes need a little bit more time to mature. Oftentimes, a team will apply that first year, use the feedback they get from the first round, because you'll get a lot of qualitative feedback from the judges, and reapply the next year. But yeah, most of the projects that do get funded in that first year go on and go on to implementation. We have about 25 to 30% of the projects that typically that apply to big ideas in the first round get funding in the end.
And those initial ideas that I applied for were totally different than what I ended up doing.
Hi, my name is Bhavik from the International Development Program. So, firstly, congratulations. I wanted to know how important was it for you to find implementation partners, if you did, while you were competing in the competition, or did you go about finding the implementation partners after you had won the idea? After you had won the prize.
Like I said, I was working already with a field partner who was also a Big Ideas alum from years ago. I think it depends on the project, right? And maybe, Philip, you can speak more to this than me, but for us it was very important because, it depends on what stage you are in applying. We said that we wanted the money to do a thing based on already having implementation partners. But I think you could just as easily say, we want money to do exploratory research to find implementing partners so that we could do this thing.
Yeah, a lot of big ideas. They come in at different stages into this contest. Some already have established field partners. Others, are when they're doing their landscaping research, which Daniel will go into in a minute, and talk about sort of what's already going on in this field, in this area, in this region. They begin to identify what partners they could potentially reach out to if they were given some funding. We don't expect that teams that are coming to Big Ideas that have no funding at this point have established partnerships, but that's something you should be looking towards as you grow.
Hi, I'm Yamor. I'm an undergrad, and my question was about how big was your team and how did you do the sharing the responsibilities when it came to working on this project?
So I have a team of 15 actually, but they're all in Africa. So it was me writing the proposal, doing all that work. It was really me doing the application. Of course, when it came to doing the budgeting, I had to run that by our person on the ground and say, okay, how much are these materials going to cost? How much is the labor going to cost? So there was that kind of interaction, but I think, again, it depends on your project. It depends on the scope of your project, and these guys are here to help you and your team sort of figure that out.
And we do have some good team building and networking events that Danny's going to talk about in the info session. So if your concern is trying to build your team around your idea, we have some opportunities for that throughout the course of the competition. One more question? Anybody? Okay, well then, thank you very much, Rachel, for the inspiration.
Yeah, and I'll also say that we just got some funding from the Gates Foundation, and we have Unilever in the pipeline. We're going to grow really fast in the next year. And we're looking for some interns, particularly in communications and in operations. We had a wonderful intern who is a master's student come work with us over the summer. So if that's something that interests you, if you always wanted to work in sanitation or with informal settlements or come to Africa, shoot me an email and we can talk.
would these be, just to clarify, positions starting here in Berkeley and then going off in the summer, or doing some of that communications work from here and then going off?
The communications would start here with the potential to go to Kigali. Operations start here with a definite component in Kigali.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so you might be asking yourself, that was a great presentation from Rachel, thank you so much, but what is Big Ideas? So in a nutshell, it is a 2-round extracurricular student innovation contest that provides funding, support, and encouragement to undergrad and graduate students, forming interdisciplinary teams to develop creative solutions to real-world problems. It's not just a contest, however. We do have, it's a 2-round program, and so we have resources to help build your interest in social entrepreneurship and innovation, and we also have targeted workshops to help you take your ideas and scale them in the real world, so set you up for success after graduation. But why not hear it through a much more creative medium?
Hey there, got a sec? We've got some problems over here. Disease, displacement, poverty, climate change, hunger. Problems that need new eyes. Your eyes. We know, you're busy. Class, term papers, research, work. There's a lot going on, but you're not just a student. You're a visionary, an entrepreneur, a designer, an innovator, a connector, a builder. We know you've got what it takes. Energy, truth, insights, imagination, and ideas. And your idea, it's there, and it's nagging you, isn't it? Listen, if you can dream it, you can create, launch, fund, and scale it. At Big Ideas, more than 6,000 students have launched over 450 innovations in 50 countries. So you bring an idea, and we'll bring the structure, mentorship, networks, funding, and validation to get you going. No idea is too small. Let's figure this out together. What's your big idea?
Okay, so really quickly, we find that UC Berkeley has a very robust entrepreneurship ecosystem, and we kind of believe that our program is a pipeline that helps feed into other programs and contests. And this also applies to the other participating partners on the UC campuses. So we are open to all UCs, and we try and plug into all of those innovation networks as well. But let's talk about a couple of our previous Big Ideas winners. We heard from Rachel, but you might have heard about Back to the Roots. They're an easy organic indoor gardening kit. They are Berkeley Haas alum, also Big Ideas winners. We have from UC Riverside the Spotlight on Hope Film Camp. That's a film camp that creates a therapeutic outlet for cancer patients. And in addition, we have Wildfire, once again, a UC Berkeley alum, and they actually create an app that gives you real-time notifications on your phone when a user reports dangerous activity on your campus. So these few examples and Rachel's show you the diversity of ideas that come to us, and no idea is too big or too small. We really encourage all different types of mediums. So you might be asking, well, what are these categories that these ideas can come into? So each year, the categories usually shift, but if anyone was an applicant from last year, they might notice that we have the same categories as last year. So all of the categories are open to first-time applicants except for the scaling up category, which has different criteria. By any chance, do we have any scaling up potential applicants? And that's fine. Except we got Rachel in the back, so we can talk. So we also have gone into great length of trying to create open-ended prompts for inspiration. And so if you're kind of trying to juggle between one or two ideas, I really encourage you to look at the individual prompts. We have videos for inspiration. We have examples from previous projects. And if you're still unsure, please reach out to Philip, Francis, myself, or one of our other social impact advisors that can kind of help you fine-tune your idea and make sure it's a good category fit. So you're probably wondering, what do we offer students besides awesome videos? We offer funding. So each team can win up to $10,000, but then there is an additional opportunities where you can win an additional $8,000. So these opportunities include the People's Choice Video Contest, which is open to all applicants, regardless of pre-proposal or making it to the second round, and that's $2,500. And then we have a pitch day, where Rachel mentioned she was the grand prize winner last year, and we have first, second, and third place for those that make it to the final stage of the contest. So we do have additional opportunities that are open, and we encourage students that don't make it past the first round to come back in subsequent years to try again.
And at any point, please stop us, ask questions, let this be interactive, and yeah, if you have a question, just raise your hand and I'll bring you over the microphone at any point.
Yes. We also offer skills development, which might not sound as attractive as money, but it is equally, if not more, important. And so we really meet students where they are, and we try and teach them and provide them with resources of where they want to be after they graduate. So we host writing and advising workshops, designing a competitive landscape analysis, creating a budget, an implementation plan, a timeline. All of these components can help build your project, but are also very relevant in the real world. So like I said, regardless of where you end up in this process, we find that the resources that we give students end up either helping them for other competitions on campus or in the real world as a resume builder, or just having insight into those skills now will put you a little bit further ahead than other students. The mentorship and networks. So we have events like Innovators at Cal, advising clinics, plus in the second stage of the process, we pair mentors with students, and through building this mentor relationship, they can start to create a lifelong career network. We have over 300 judges, 6,000 previous projects, and a huge professional network. So we can connect you to the people that you want to be in contact with. And we know that it can be very hard sometimes to find a way to make that connection, so we try and make it easier. Last but not least, we have the exposure and recognition. So as a pipeline program, we help students with their projects, their plans, their pitches, and through our mentors, we expose them to the fields that they're already interested in. So at the very end, we recognize the hard work that you guys have all gone through. We have an awards ceremony, and all this exposure, once again, kind of thrusts you out into the real world so that you guys already have a little bit of recognition that you can use so that your success can be continued.
Yeah, the thing we hear from our alumni all the time is that initially what drew them to the competition was the idea that you could get $10,000, up to $10,000 for this brilliant idea you have. But ultimately, once that venture goes on and is successful, once it goes beyond the competition, it really is the mentorship, the networks that you can build through the competition, and the validation, the recognition that can open the doors to other VCs, to hot desk opportunities at Skydeck or the Foundry, and those types of opportunities through the validation and networks.
So let's talk about rules and eligibility. They're pretty simple. You have to be a matriculated UC student. We also have 2 additional campuses, Macquarie University in Uganda and Hebrew University of Jerusalem. So if you are a UC student or at any of those abroad participating campuses, you are eligible for the contest. That team lead has to be a participating university student, but it doesn't mean that your other team members have to be UC students. They don't even have to be students. I must emphasize that this is a student-led venture, but if you have been working with people in your community, by all means, you're allowed to have them on your team. Now, the third point is that each student can submit one idea to one category. So if I am trying to submit my idea to public health, I cannot submit that same idea to connected communities. However, if I have 2 unique ideas, you are allowed to apply in those separate categories. Does that make sense to everyone? Because sometimes it's confusing for me.
Yeah. Any questions on that? Okay, that's a first.
Okay, great. And then let's see, yeah, as I already mentioned, scaling up has a different set of criteria, but since we don't have any scaling up participants right here, I'm just gonna move right along.
Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a clarifying question to your last comment. You're saying if I have an idea for worker development and what have you, and another one for global health, I can apply for 2 different categories.
Absolutely.
2 different ideas.
Absolutely.
And the way we sort of advise students who are doing that, because often we'll have a student come to us with 2 or 3 or 4 ideas at the beginning of the year, and it's just about your bandwidth and being able to commit yourself. Should you get 2 or 3 proposals into that final round, that's a lot of heavy lifting. So we advise those types of students who have many ideas to build your teams out. You know, be a team lead on one, maybe a team partner on another, but just make sure that what you're proposing you can really take on. Yes, you can be a team lead on one and a team lead on another, or you can be a team lead on one and a partner on another.
Absolutely. And as Philip mentioned, it's there is, the workload component, but we really have designed the program to kind of work seamlessly with what you're already doing in class and really emphasize the hard work you're already putting through in your studies. So we're hoping that as long as you can handle the workload, by all means, but do recognize that, having team members and being able to really focus on 1 or 2 ideas can be a benefit. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of the timeline. For the purposes of this session, I'm going to mainly focus on the pre-proposal process, but I'll go over a few things in the second stage of the program. And if you do have any questions, raise your hand and stop me. So you have already made it to the second information session. Yay! Okay, so you're good. But we do have actually targeted events from now until the due date, which is on November 14th at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's very hard to due date, but in that time, we have networking events. I would love to highlight Innovators at Cal. You might have seen the poster in the back. We have a keynote speaker, Sasha Orloff, who will explain his journey as a social entrepreneur, but also we will have this space for individuals like yourself to come on stage, pitch your idea in about a minute or less, and then ask if you want any teammates. So if you're looking for a teammate with a certain skill set, that teammate might already be in the audience, and after the event, we're gonna use this space and bring in some additional whiteboards so you guys can start doing some ideating and start actually connecting with other like-minded individuals that can help you with your idea, or you might be inspired and join somebody else's team. Many hands make light work, right? We, in addition, have an environmental design workshop, which is called Inventing
Inventing Green.
Yes, Inventing Green. And so we're going to have a special guest speaker, Jeremy Faludi, who is actually going to talk about how you can incorporate environmental design principles into the foundation of your project. These are really incredible ideas that he's meant to make it interactive as well. So this is not going to be as much of a lecture, but as an interactive workshop. So you can get feedback in real time about ideas or projects that you want to scale and get to see the sustainable side to that.
Yeah, and this is something we're really excited about, Inventing Green on October 22nd. The speaker, Jeremy Faludi, is an expert in circular economy. He will be here leading this workshop, and really we've heard from our past judges that students need to be thinking much more about the impact of their innovations to make sure they're doing more good than harm. So every product, every service you create obviously has some sort of output, so making sure that those outputs aren't more damaging than what you're trying to accomplish in the first place. So that's a really important principle. It's something we hope to build into the Big Ideas contest going forward, and this is sort of our pilot year with this workshop. So please attend if you're around.
Yes. In addition, we have pre-proposal workshops. So just to preface this, the advisors, Philip, Francis, myself, we're not the judges. So the judges have given us feedback on what they feel like might be missing from different pre-proposals or full proposals. Ugh, say that 5 times fast. And what we've heard is that there has been a lack of understanding of the competitive landscape analysis. This can also be considered a market landscape analysis. It's basically understanding the existing solutions in the field and how you differentiate your idea from those. So our first workshop on October 10th is going to focus on that. And then what we've also heard from judges and from our participants is that being able to tell your project story concisely in a very engaging way is a challenge for everyone, but it's very important. So our second writing workshop on October 30th is going to be storytelling for innovation. And we're actually going to have a guest from Open IDEO who's going to come and kind of give a little summary of some tips and tricks on how you can actually tell your story in a concise, engaging way so you can reach a larger audience. So really quickly, we've got the info sessions. Innovators at Cal is October 8th, and the Inventing Green workshop is October 22nd, and the pre-proposal writing workshops are October 10th and October 30th. But that's not all. We also have the industry advising clinics. So as you go through this process, you'll probably want somebody that has a background in your idea come and give you some one-on-one advice about how you could fine-tune your idea for the pre-proposal. So you'll have an opportunity to sign up with an industry expert in your field and get some one-on-one advice about how you can fine-tune that idea. And also the editing blitz. And the editing blitz is going to be on November 9th and November 13th, right before the deadline that Rachel mentioned before. You're going to be able to bring in your pre-proposals, get some advice from us, and also share it with other like-minded individuals. And we kind of consider this a collaborative event so that everyone can kind of help everybody else succeed, and you'll get some feedback so that you'll feel confident sending in that proposal. And then I'm going to repeat it again. The deadline is on November 14th at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Yep. And throughout that entire timeline, Danny, myself, Francis, our innovation director for the Blum Center, we hold drop-in advising hours. So there is a tab on our website called Advising. You can click on that. You can find an advisor, and you can schedule an appointment anytime between now and November 14th. And I definitely encourage teams to do that now, because as we get closer to that November 14th deadline, there's a lot of students coming to our doors, and it gets a lot more crowded. So early and often is always a good goal.
Yeah, I've seen some people that have done some advising, and that's great. We want to see lots of you. So that's Big Ideas Contest / advising, and you can sign up with any of the advisors on the calendar. So to briefly talk about some of the components in the full proposal stage, after you submit your idea in late December, you will actually get feedback, and everybody gets feedback. So as Rachel mentioned before, she got some really valuable feedback on one of her earlier ideas, and she used that feedback to her advantage. We have a lot of other students that have said they've used that feedback, integrated it into their idea, and were able to win other contests or apply for other opportunities. So this, I would say, is something that we find really, really valuable for students. We have the mentorship stage, which is when we pair finalists with mentors, and they go through about a 6 to 8 week mentorship period that you work out with your mentor, and they give you advice on how to fine-tune that idea. Then you have the full proposal, which is a 10-page proposal, and that is due on March 6th at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. In the midst, like I said, we will also have other events that we're trying to target to make sure that you get all of the things that you need. And likewise, or in addition, you can also sign up for advising and just make sure that you guys are getting all the resources that you need for your project. And then last but not least, we've got the People's Choice video contest that I mentioned, and so that's open to both pre-proposal and full proposal finalists. It's not mandatory that you create a video, but if you did want to create a video about your project, you have an opportunity to win some money. It's all crowdsourced, so the most votes wins. And it's $2,500 prize, and so that's really great as well. Something I didn't mention about the prize money initially, though, is that we give this out as an award. This isn't a grant or a scholarship that has reporting restrictions, and that's kind of one of my favorite aspects to talk about, because if you guys are familiar with scholarships or grants, they usually have reporting requirements or they have restrictions on how you can spend the money. But we at Big Ideas, since we're investing in you and your early idea, we believe that you know how to best spend that money. So it's given to you as an award, and we don't ask that you actually send us information on how you're spending that. We trust you, whereas if you're a scaling up applicant, it is actually a grant, so there is some loose reporting restrictions around that. But I like to also tell students that, because if you're interested in any other competitions, you should make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into. Okay, so this pre-proposal I'm talking so much about has 4 components, and it is only 3 pages. So being concise, I think, is definitely something that we can help you with. The first component is the problem statement. So what problem or need does your idea address? And you want to show some relevant research or statistics on the problem. The second section, which is the landscape analysis, is kind of looking at the existing solutions already in the field. And as I mentioned, we're going to have a writing workshop that targets this component. So please come to that. The third component is this proposed innovation, essentially your idea, how it works, and its intended impact. And judges consider above all how innovative and creative the project is, but this doesn't mean that this has to be a super tech-heavy design or a really complicated solution. Some of the most creative ideas are very simple, and the most important thing is that they're easy to understand. And then last but not least is the team bios. So you'll be listing your key project team members with a very brief bio that explains the different strengths and capacities of this individual team member and how they're going to contribute to your proposed innovation. So you can kind of outline their role of each person, and that will fit for designing your innovation. And at the end of this, you can look to your left and look to your right and possibly meet some team members, so you guys can work on that section ahead of time.
Yep, and it's not required at this stage that you have every team member identified for your pre-proposal. We know that you're just beginning to sort of formulate these ideas. You're in the conceptualization stage. And what we want in the team bio section, if you need to find a programmer, we want to know the strategy for how you're going to go about doing that. You don't have to have that person on board, but think about the skill sets, the roles that you'll need if we give you funding to implement the project, and begin to identify the types of people you would bring on board, and you can have that rather than names in your bios.
Yes, I think that's a really good point. And to just go off of that as well, in your proposed innovation, you don't have to show evidence that you have either a product or process fine-tuned. You can just describe what you want to actually build, create, design, which I think is a great advantage. And also goes back to the fact that we want to invest in your early ideas. So there's no necessary product that you have to show up with your proposed innovation. We've also had students say, oh, well, I have a lot of graphics and research that I want to incorporate. There is a pretty strict 3-page limit, so please come and sign up for advising, and we can figure out how to use those statistics and graphs and whatever images you have in a way that still adheres to the 3-page limit. So the judging criteria is very heavily weighted on innovation. And so understanding, is this idea unique or approaching a problem in a unique way, or really solving a needed problem? Then we have our potential for impact, which is, can this idea help people, places, things? Whereas other competitions usually focus on the financial metrics that go into scaling your problem, we really focus on that social impact. So that should become very loud and clear in your pre-proposal. And then a couple other categories are the viability. So can this award actually get your project going? The category challenge, as I mentioned, if you've got an idea and you're not sure which category it goes into, that is part of the judging criteria of how well your idea fits in that category. And then the quality. That might sound like an obvious statement, but being able to just clearly describe your idea and have a very concise pre-proposal is really important, because the judges want to help you, but if they can't understand the idea, then it can get a little tricky. So, yes.
One thing to add on that is, so that's the first round judging criteria, right? And the way the methodology of Big Ideas works is that we want to get new creative ideas in the door in the first round, in the pre-proposal round. So we want to hear about those new crazy ideas. That's why innovation is 40% in the first round. But should you make it to the final round, potential for impact and viability become about 60% of your final score. So we want to work with those new creative ideas that we've identified in the second round and make them viable, sustainable social ventures. So that's sort of the methodology, that's sort of the track you'll be on if you make it to the final round. Just to give you a scope of the competition last year, we received about 320 applications in the first round, 1,000 students across those teams, so roughly 3 members per team. And then we moved 70 teams on to the final round across all 8 categories, and ultimately awarded 42 teams prizes on average of about $5,500.
Yeah, that's great. So if any of you have any questions, we really love hearing from you. So now is a great opportunity. If you don't mind just raising your hand. If not, do we have any questions from our remote users in the back, Francis?
One question we often get is, who are the judges for Big Ideas? So Francis is our network coordinator. He recruits about 350 judges, and the way we build, each judge is assigned to a particular category, and then we try and build a judging pool within a category that has both sort of the sector experts. So in the global health category, we have a lot of people who focus on international health issues or domestic health issues even. And then we'll also have in that same category some people who can look at it from a marketing perspective, from a business plan perspective, from a supply chain manufacturing perspective. So we try and build out both the sectoral expertise as well as sort of that category expertise.
Can we get the microphone in the back?
I would say write your proposal so that it's accessible to a judge who's within the global health category but might not know about your specific thing. So you should kind of explain the key concepts and make sure it's accessible to anyone. Yeah.
But we should save those tips for the writing workshop.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
We did have a question from online.
Okay.
Yay.
Someone was asking, how do you know if your idea is innovative? Like, that term gets thrown around a lot. Any thoughts on that?
I can take the first step.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
A lot of the times students say it's not a technology. How is it innovative? Or it's been done before. it doesn't have to be the latest greatest widget. If it's a new service, if it's a new product, if you're replicating a service or a product in a new region, or taking a system to a new region, that is innovative. So we frame innovation very broadly. So it can be across, technology, but it can also be services and programs. It can be replication. It can be just something new in a different area.
Absolutely. And just to tag along to that, it can be very local, so working within the Berkeley campus, to international. So we have students that either have spent a significant time abroad or are from a country outside of the US and said, there's a problem that I noticed. I've got a lot of ideas being a student here. I would love to use the expertise I have with my background to apply that to big ideas. So it can be local, international, as long as you can communicate why your idea would solve that problem. It doesn't have to be tech heavy, and we've seen a lot of creative ideas that are very simple but end up having a huge impact on their community. And so that's really the important part.
Any other questions?
Yeah,
Okay.
in the back. Hold on a sec. Sorry.
Hi, my name is Christian Gonzalez. I go to the Haas Graduate Business School. One of the questions I had was regarding if you're not sure about the type of social impact your idea might have, is that something that could be discussed during the advising sessions?
Absolutely. I think you'd be surprised if you come in and you say, I'm not really sure what this impact is. We all have very diverse backgrounds and have worked in different sectors, but I'm sure if you've got an innovative idea for how to solve a problem, then we can definitely show you the social impact side.
There was actually a project last year, Vidi. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's from Haas School of Business, second year. He graduated last year, Federico. He came to us last year. He had a machine learning process for identifying medical instruments. So a person could just sweep them under and it would identify the instrument. And he was wondering about the social impact of that. Obviously, this is a great value to hospitals, but what is the benefit? And as he dug more into it, he understood that saved, the nurses were actually the ones who were having to catalog all these things and taking all that time to swipe the instruments across. And that saved them a ton of time that they could then be spending with patients and improve patient care and things like that. And they did research to document this. So we often have projects that come to us and explore the social impact.
Yeah. But come on into our advising sessions. Yeah. So if we don't have any other questions, like I said, please speak with people at your table. You can get to know each other. We find that these events are great for networking. Come chat with either Philip, Francis, or myself. And thanks so much for coming, guys.
Good luck.